Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the In the Mixer podcast transfer roundup episode numero
Dos.
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 I am your host, Phil the Power Taylor, and this is
Oh my god.
this is Michael and Elias. One is Swedish, another is
Almost Swedish.
Northernish.
English.
I didn't do that.
That's
You know when
racist.
you say like you list people and like I say like that's Michael and Elias. One is Swedish. One is from the middle of the north.
Yeah.
Do you guys?
Yeah.
You know you'd like to say that's respectively, but it's not respectively. 'Cause it's the other way. Has that got a word? Irrespectively, I suppose.
Probably.
Yeah.
Or no. Yeah.
Yep.
No. Yeah.
No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Anything to contribute to that, Elias?
Yeah,
Excellent.
not gonna say that.
So transfers, football. We've had some interesting things happen since the last podcast. Manchester United were dominated by a Borussia Dortmund team in a friendly match, and then they had their match against Man City abandoned because of rain. So
And plane.
and planes and automobiles. Hey, choo choo.
Right.
We're descending into madness. Has anyone else had any good friendly? Has Chelsea played some friendlies, right? No, I think. Didn't you lose to someone?
Yeah.
Beat someone? It's one of those
Let's
two.
do Rapid Vienna.
No, it could be a draw.
Beat Wolfsburger.
What about any of your teams, Michael? To be fair, this could
Birmingham
take a
lost
while.
to
You've got a
Hibs.
couple. You lost to Hibs.
I have Birmingham lost to
That's not
Hibs.
very good.
I'm pretty sure Schalke got a narrow 2-1 win over some random awful team. So neither's
But
going
didn't Schalke
particularly
win a
well.
game 13-0 or something?
Yes, they did.
Go on.
Well,
You're gonna win the league.
it was
Can't see past that now.
the sound system for the stadium was a stereo which was placed on the Schalke bench, which was literally a bench. So I'll not say much more than that. And the crowd was kept behind a cage rather than in a stand. So, but we won 13-0.
Well, that's nice.
And Bowler scored 2 or maybe 3.
Who knows? Who's
I
counting?
think they lost count.
counting?
Yeah.
So, as people say, friendlies don't mean much, but I think in that instance we can say that Schalke are going to win the Bundesliga next season with quite some
Champions
confidence.
League. They're going to be allowed into the Champions League.
They're allowed in.
Allowed in. First team ever to be allowed in based on friendly performances.
I'm pretty sure Liverpool had that once when they finished 5th in the league,
Oh yeah.
and,
That's what that
Chelsea
was.
when they finished 7th,
Oh yeah. 6th.
6th,
What?
7th.
Yeah, I think it was 6th.
It was 6th. You finished behind Spurs and Newcastle and somehow still got in the Champions League.
It's only one day, my tail.
Okay. You know what the best thing about that is? Chelsea fans seem more like chuffed at the fact they were in the Champions League again next season than that they'd actually won the Champions League.
That's true.
Anyway, what are we talking about today? Transfers of football. Yes. So, and if
Players.
let's talk about before we go into the Premier League. I'm going to say previews because that's kind of what it is of the next 5 teams. Any big deals caught either of your eyes? Either of your eyes? Because you've got 2 eyes each of you.
Yeah.
So one for the left, one for the right.
Does that mean I get to pick 2?
I mean, you can pick 2, pick 3 if you want.
Well, I'll
Three
go
guys.
for the Dortmund duo, seeing as though that's my league that I follow closest.
Your league. You're claiming that
Is
league.
it not
He's
mine?
claiming it.
I'm not claiming it. I said the league. Okay, I did say your. Andre Schürrle and Mario Gomez, both making the transfer from German clubs to
Well
a
saved.
smaller German club
We'll see.
in Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, that's all I have to say on it. I don't want to talk about it much.
Nice. I saw
the
something
relevant
I saw
players.
some like meme on Twitter where it was just like Dortmund signed Mkhitaryan to replace Götze, and then like 3 years later Dortmund signed Götze to replace Mkhitaryan. It's weird. It's like some weird like time loop, or in some sort
I
of
think-
like wormhole.
For me, as a Schalke
paradox.
fan supporter, it is Mario Götze is the best signing Dortmund have made in years. Because the fans hate him and still hate him.
Oh, you mean
and
from a
he's so-
humorous perspective?
Oh yeah, no, it's of course. And also he's pretty awful at the moment. I haven't seen him play a good game in a long time. And
Just 'cause
which
it's
makes it
pre-season,
brilliant.
but-
So I'm looking forward to seeing Mario Götze.
Well,
Flop in front of the angry Dortmund
flop.
fans.
Harsh. Dortmund. I've read somewhere that all their business is done now, which would assume that they're not going to let anyone go.
Yeah.
So perhaps Aubameyang's
yeah,
probably going to stay
yeah.
put, and he's been linked with several clubs.
Typically,
Such.
the big clubs in Germany would not sell from this point onwards. Like, they start all the logistics and stuff now. Like, I know it sounds stupid, but like team photos and things are already released.
You're talking about Germany. That doesn't sound stupid at all.
No, yeah, but like,
The
yeah,
kings of
it's just like,
efficiency.
yeah, exactly. All the small detail stuff starts now, which means that any outgoings are unlikely. Hence, the Leroy Sané saga to City is still going on somehow, which is Schalke seem to be the only club that let these go on for ages, like they did with Draxler. But majority of the big clubs
That's probably
in
not
Germany,
you. That's probably Man City. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Premier League clubs
Draxler was to Wolfsburg.
League club tend to have a. They tend to just let their deals, plod along until the last day.
Yeah.
So, but as we are 5 minutes into this podcast, and we're going to be talking about Premier League previews, it's nice that we still haven't spoken about a Premier League transfer. Elias, save us, please.
I've just got astounded by this signing by one of my favourite teams in the Premier League. Arsenal, who signed like the most promising centre back in English history, I think, Rob Holding from Bolton. I think, like, that signing just, I could see them winning the league this season. Why didn't Chelsea pick up on them?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this is sarcasm.
Yeah, I was also gonna say I'm picking up on some elements of sarcasm. Right.
Also, is Rob
Well
Holding
spotted.
a centre back? I'm not actually
Centre
sure.
back or wing back, I have no idea.
He's somewhere.
I've never heard of him.
Is he even a footballer?
I'm not sure. He might be the transport manager.
I thought he was a cricket pundit when it was first announced, not gonna lie. But I think that's some West Indian guy.
Oh, Michael Holding.
Yeah, Michael Holding.
Coming up to bat now.
Get a bit of
Get a bit of swing on the boy. Oh man, what? Is he dead now? Possibly.
No,
Rob.
no, no.
See, this is
No.
what happened if you don't have Sky. The world of cricket just disappears. Like the F1. Yeah. So, Sam. Is it Sam Holding? No, Sam Holden.
No,
Stuart Holden
Rob.
is the American one
Oh.
who played for Bolton.
He's brilliant. I love that
Did he break
guy.
his leg?
He broke
A few
everything. He
times.
didn't break
Yeah,
anything.
he
It
broke
was just like his
everything.
knees just gave up. Like,
He was
literally, he'd come
fun
back for
fact.
2 weeks and break a knee.
Fun
fact about Stuart Holding, he was actually a professional Counter-Strike player back in the day.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
We had nothing else to
That's
do.
pretty
Sit on his ass
interesting.
all day.
Wow.
With knees up.
Where is he now? Is he still on Bolton?
He's still retired.
Is he
He's
retired?
retired. He
Retired
retired
like
at
2 years
28,
ago.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame when players retire.
I think he's a pundit and presenter on Fox.
And professional CS player.
So yeah.
Oh, and speaking of players retiring
Professional
early,
Counter-Strike.
I think we should have a little. Did you see the thing about the Cambridge player?
No.
He
No.
lost. He was 23, I think, and I think he was knocked down in a hit and run and had to have both his legs amputated.
Oh man.
And he had to
that's
retire.
pretty
It was very upsetting. I think a couple of Premier League managers and stuff have been giving their support to him, and I think he's probably got a charity or something. So I can't remember his name, which is pretty shitty of me, but yeah, that's very sad news. But yeah, like you said, like early players retiring early, like no one likes to see that. It happened to
Yeah.
Dean Ashton back in the day. I think it was like back in the day. It was like 10 years ago. Is that back in the day?
Well, yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
allowed to say that? Am I old enough
Yeah.
to say back in the day yet?
Yeah, you certainly are old
I'm
enough.
receding.
32.
32.
Oh, we got another guy that unfortunately retired very early.
Wait, before.
Oh.
Sorry, go on.
David Bentley.
David
Yep.
Bentley.
Isn't that because nobody wanted?
No, I don't think.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't think he's retired. I think he's still looking for a club.
I'm
he
retiring,
retired.
guys.
That's why he
Seriously.
retired after he was at Blackburn for like a season.
No, he
Played,
went
like,
to.
a few
He
times.
was at Spurs, wasn't he? And then left. And then he went to some like. I feel like he went to like a Turkish team or like a really obscure league.
No, Russian.
Russian.
No, yeah, to Rostov, yeah. I remember.
And then he left, and they almost won the league, or did win the league. I can't remember. But yeah. So he's. I just imagine him like. Have you seen the video of him like He's like on a balcony or something. And he kicks a ball into a bin, like a trash can from like. the
Just
top
like
of-
submits
Yeah,
it to
I can
every club
imagine
around
just
the world.
sending that to every. It's like that in Hargreaves workout video. Just sending it to loads of managers, like, hey, watch this. Don't know what accent he has. Don't know if that's David Bentley's accent. I'm going to go with it.
Probably your accent. Wait, where's he from?
He's from, like, I was going to say Benidorm.
What?
I feel like he's from, like, he went to Arsenal, so I feel like he's from, like, Enfield or something like that. Well, that's Spurs territory, I think. I don't know. Anyway, somewhere.
Enfield is definitely Spurs.
But yeah, anyway,
territory,
going back to the Rob Holding. Yeah,
Rob Holding.
The way Arsenal announced the signing, it was interesting because I was looking at it and I was like, they're actually more excited about how it's been announced than actually the signing itself.
That's why they announced it like that, because it's a relevant sign. You can't go announcing Rob Holding. You have to create some sort of. They had to show off Mesut Ozil first.
So for anyone who didn't see it, basically what happened is Arsenal were basically doing their thing like, who's this player? And they like show like their shoe and then their like back and then their cock and
kind
then
of like
their
they did on
arms.
Question of Sport.
But then they did it with their new signing, and then it was like, who's this guy? And then everyone was like, oh my god, it's a new signing. And it's like, yeah, Rob Holding.
Out of 350 guesses, one person goes right. I did actually look how many replies there was on Twitter.
Wait, some people said some
like
were there any really good replies? Were there any like, Kareem Benzema?
Oh, I didn't actually look. I just looked at the number.
Oh,
It's just yeah.
that would have been some good ones.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big signing. I suppose it's come around to me now to mention one. I'm going to go with Negredo to
The other
Middlesbrough.
Premier League. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the. Oh yeah, this is a Premier League signing actually.
Negredo to Middlesbrough. What do
Interesting
we think
signing.
of that? Because Middlesbrough, I mean, we're going to talk about them, I think in their next episode, but they're coming under our microscope. But yeah, a player with pedigree in the Spanish league. Also did it for Man City in the Premier League. It's interesting how this move's going to go for him. It seems yeah. I've said this on Twitter before. I think this is like, remember when QPR signed all those players and it was like Julio Cesar said he was going to win the league with QPR and things like that.
That was, yeah.
I feel like this is one of those moves, and I feel like this is going to go. It's going to be Negredo's going to just disappear. He's just going to go on a holiday to Spain and never come back, or he's just there for a bit of a paycheck perhaps, because he's a loan move, correct? I think for a year.
Yeah, it's a loan.
He's probably got some bonuses there. I don't know why else you'd want to go to Middlesbrough from lovely Valencia, but yeah, I mean it.
Fish and chip. Wait, no, that's not Middlesbrough.
Fair play to Middlesbrough. It's a great signing if they can get him scoring. But Negredo is, how old is he now? He's 32.
I think it's, is he 32? I think it's like 30 to 31 maybe. Something like that.
So I thought he was even like younger.
Yeah, I don't think he's that old.
Negredo, he's 30, so he's not that
Yeah.
old at all. Wow. So it'd be interesting to see what they can get out of him. I think this is going to be very interesting as well, because obviously they have a couple of strikers on their books. One, Jordan Rhodes, who signed in January. He'll probably be out the door now, I'd imagine, because he didn't really hit the ground running at the end of the second half of last season when he signed for Middlesbrough and Blackburn. And it was a lot of money they paid for him, and now with this signing, I'm not sure what's going to... I guess you need depth, especially in those positions. But it's going to be interesting to see how much game time he actually gets, and if he's going to be given the opportunity to shine in the Premier League. Like he's kind of been deserving for the last few seasons now. But yeah, Jordan Rose is going to be interesting to see if he maybe goes somewhere. Who did we say in the last episode needs a striker? Crystal Palace. We said Bournemouth maybe. So he could end up at one of those teams. But yeah, Jordan Rhodes.
It'd be interesting to see Well, I personally think he'll stay at Middlesbrough, but it'd be interesting to see if a Premier League team does take a dive on him.
Well, I think if he did leave, it would probably be on loan.
He's a goal scorer.
Obviously he's done it in the Championship for years, and nobody's really taken the risk of him at a Premier League team. And for him to now get promoted with a team rather than to be signed by one, it's still a risk because nobody really, especially with the form he left last season. It'd be interesting to see if a Premier League team does take a risk on it. But I personally think he'll stay at Middlesbrough. I don't think he'll move away because with the Negredo being a loan move and etc. I don't think that there's no money desperation for Middlesbrough.
No.
Whatever. So I think he'll stay. He's got time.
He's got,
especially with the fee they paid.
He's got bare time.
Yeah, that's got.
We'll see,
a lot of it.
because he must be getting on now. He must be late 20s now. You'd imagine he'd want his prime years in a first team role in a squad.
I've googled it for you, and he's 26.
26, so he'll want to be all guns blazing. And if he does get a chance, probably step up to the plate. I'm a big fan of Jordan Rhodes, so hopefully we'll see the best of him. Any more big signings you guys wanted to talk about, Premier League or otherwise?
Wijnaldum.
Wijnaldum. 25
From
million
Newcastle to Liverpool. I personally love this one because Liverpool fans obviously have a reputation for talking about transfers quite a lot, quite openly on Twitter. And I've recently started working at a hotel in Doncaster where I live. And Newcastle were playing Doncaster last week. So I got to find out that Wijnaldum had travelled with the squad because people at the hotel told me. But so I went round telling everybody, Wijnaldum's not leaving Newcastle. Wijnaldum's not leaving Newcastle. For him to leave Newcastle the day after travelling to Doncaster with the squad.
I think that's just,
embarrassing
that's just
myself
stupidity
somewhat.
on your part. I think.
Well, it's not. Well, if he travelled all the way to Doncaster and was with the team and
Say
whatever,
he won't leave.
at
It
the
might just mean he's
hotel.
not leaving today.
he left the next day.
Exactly.
The next day. The match
His
finished
contract is
at 10
his
o'clock,
contract.
and he left at 10 o'clock the next
His
morning.
contract is valid until he leaves.
I was still very surprised.
I mean, if your Premier League comes knocking and you're in the Championship, you've got to leave, haven't you? So,
Yeah,
and usually
Yeah.
Premier
Especially
League teams get their man,
big club.
unless it's a rare case like Ross McCormack and just can't sign them. But I mean, 25 million is a hefty fee, but it's like we're saying, it's like the amount of money in the Premier League now, the inflation of prices, perhaps
It's
it's
irrelevant.
not. Yeah, it's kind of irrelevant. If they kind of want a player, they can just go for him and spend however much. We can laugh at the fee and think it's a bit of a waste of money, but then again, if he
But then we also could say we laughed at the fee that Bournemouth paid for Ibe from Liverpool. So
we did laugh at that.
Yeah, I laughed at it. I wasn't sure.
But obviously, there's always going to be flops. There's always going to be players who live up to their price tag, and this will be one that's going to be interesting to watch, I think. But I mean, Newcastle getting a hefty amount of money there, and if they do get that reported 35 million for Moussa Sissoko from, I think Arsenal are having a look
Barcelona is the last
Barcelona.
thing I saw.
Oh, he's,
now. Unbelievable if
I'm
they
not
can get
even
60
gonna get
million
into
for those two. They'll be laughing. Mike Ashley will be laughing if he doesn't get it all
Like,
taken away.
straight
If he doesn't
down.
get it all taken away from him by the government.
Yeah.
this is what I was saying though. Like Newcastle going down could actually work out quite well for him because they just get a clean out of all the clutter.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. It's quite a good
Like,
job, really, because there's literally a clean slate there for Benitez.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really going to be
and it makes
his club.
it makes your team more efficient in terms of like not having, like I said, just like cluttered players, like players that don't need to be there, players that are overvalued that you could get rid of.
Don't you, like, when you go down to the Championship, don't you get, like, a parachute payment as well
Yes.
to survive?
Parachute, yes, yeah.
This might be the start of something. That Newcastle.
It could be.
Yeah.
It really, if managed properly, which is imagine why Rafa has stayed because it's like all this
Yeah.
promise of money, like it really does have the potential to do well.
Yeah.
Like they could rebuild that squad and create it to be anything they want it to be. That sounds really like Dream Netherland Disney characters, but they could actually make it into whatever
Definitely.
Rafa wants it to be and do well.
I think when that team comes back up to the Premier League, and I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that they're going to come back up now. That's what people seem to think. I think the majority of people put their money on them coming straight back up. I think it's going to be a bit tough because I don't particularly like Benitez as a league manager, and over 46 games, I think he has too many mistakes to make that. But I think probably Newcastle will just pure power and just presence with all this money coming in, all these Premier League players they've got will probably just storm it like they did last time they were in the Championship. But this will be Rafa Benitez's team when they come back up into the Premier League.
Yeah.
So if Benitez is, if I'm wrong and Benitez is as good a manager as everyone says, he could be at Newcastle for the next 5, possibly to 10 years, and he could make it like a dynasty there and get that Newcastle team. Because like, this is a really good platform. He's got no pressure. He's pretty much guaranteed the league with the money he's being allowed to spend. So he's got a season to put in his philosophies and lay down the groundwork for the next season, which a lot of managers in the Premier League don't get. A lot of them don't get a year. So he's pretty much got a year for free. I mean, if they don't get promoted, it's going to be huge question marks on his actual ability as a manager, in my opinion. But yeah.
But yeah, I think obviously even I'm thinking of Newcastle as being able to walk this league, but I think people very much underestimate Championship teams now. There's a lot of Championship teams. Well, obviously there's some really big teams down there. Like Norwich and Villa got relegated with Newcastle. You have to remember that, which are big teams. But also, like in the Championship, there's a lot of teams that will take points away from that you don't expect, just through like hard work or just because they're just difficult teams to break down. Like even like Birmingham. I know it's talking about Birmingham, but Birmingham don't play incredible football at all. We play like horrible Route 1 football sometimes. But were a tough team to break down because like a defensive unit and the amount of players you get behind the ball, and that's not maybe something that Rafa's going to be used to because he's never managed at a level like that before.
Yeah.
So maybe underestimating this league slightly, but certainly Newcastle should walk in.
You look at the other teams in the Championship, right? You got Villa, who whether they will, they should really be challenging for at least the playoff space next season. But the way that club's going, we don't really know.
Wouldn't be surprised if they went down again. Genuinely,
you probably got Barnsley, Wigan. Teams like that, like the lower half of the team, who are going to make their home, who are going to focus, like Preston, who are going to make their home grounds the fortress. And then you've got, let me just go down here, we've got teams like Blackburn, Brentford, who can take points. Brighton will be looking for another good season. Bristol City improved at the end of last season. Rotherham improved at the end of last season. Cardiff will be challenging. Derby are always up there. Fulham got some great players to beat on the day. Leeds, I mean, who knows what Leeds could do? They could win the league. They could get relegated. It's just, anything. Nottingham Forest got some good players and going back on the rise. Reading have been linked with some big players. QPR are waiting to go up there. Sheffield Wednesday, of course, had a very good season last season. We'll be looking to push on again. So this, like you say, Michael, it's not an easy league at all.
Exactly. There's a lot of it's a really clumped league. There's a lot of teams that could deserve to be in other leagues in there, and it's almost like it's a really crowded league. You don't remember it's a long season in the Championship.
Yeah, moving on from that, when you said Leeds, I just remember that Leeds are actually after an AIK right back. He's Icelandic. He was with Iceland at the Euros, but he didn't play because he's not very good. So if any Leeds fans are listening, don't expect any fireworks from this guy because he's absolutely shite on the ball. He scores headers, though. That might be something. He scored yesterday.
Once again, some good news for Leeds fans. Another a little rumour I saw, a cheeky little rumour I saw today. Rafa van der Vaart going to Reading would be a nice one. See him back in English football. Not sure what he'll actually give to Reading at this stage of his career.
Problems with money.
A couple of laughs. But yeah, it'll be a nice one. It'll be a nice one.
Oh, let's laugh at the midget.
Any other rumors? We'll go on to rumours. Any other rumours you guys want to talk about? Or?
Well, I wanted to mention an actual transfer because I know I mentioned
sorry.
it to Elias in the pre-show, but Alan Halilovic has gone to Halilovic has gone to Hamburg for like 5 million or whatever it was. It's like 7 million euros, something like that. That's a ridiculously good signing. It's like first. Hamburg are actually showing some real intent in this transfer window, which is probably a blessing for their fans. But it's so good.
Haven't they been in quite a bit of trouble, like in the Bundesliga, being quite low down in the league?
Well, I think that was since Van der Vaart went back there and drained all their money.
Hamburg have sort of been on always a bit of a downward spiral, and they've never. When I was saying that there's a bit of a blessing for Hamburg fans, they're actually doing something in the transfer window. They haven't actually improved their squad in a long time. Yeah,
isn't their best centre back Johan Duro? Is he still there?
I don't know whether he's left now. I'm assuming like so. So yeah, they've got a lot of problems, and they just need something to change like the course of their seasons, because like every so often they go on a little nice run and beat some big teams, but they always end up like pretty low down in the league. So
to make a little analogy with Hamburg, because make a Premier League analogy, because that's the only league that actually matters if you believe some media outlets. That's a dig at you, Sky. Suck my penis. I'm going to say Hamburg last few seasons. The German Sunderland.
I won't go that far.
Oh, okay, well, cutting this bit out.
Because they do have some good players. Actually,
so does Sunderland.
Well,
yeah, but they didn't sign Hamburg didn't sign shitloads of players for shitloads of money.
That's QPR.
Yeah,
but Sunderland did as well, if you remember.
Who?
They went on that. Yeah, they went on that like a couple of years ago. They signed like Virginie or whatever his name was, and all those
Jeremy
players,
Lens,
quite a lot. Yeah, for quite a lot of money.
Yakarina.
To be fair, that was Dick Advocat though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So
still Sunderland.
Dick Advocat. Speaking of Dick Advocat, Sunderland managers. What do we think of Sam Allardyce, England manager then? Confirmed.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I think this is what England needs, some discipline.
so do
I think England. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
England need a manager who shows them for what they are. I said this to a guy at work. I said, if the international football was the Premier League, because that's the only league in the world, again, another dig at you, Sky. I'm coming for you. What was the point? Yes, England wouldn't even be going for a Europa League spot. They are like the mid-table team of international football, and I think if they get a manager who isn't, well, then I suppose you could argue that with Roy Hodgson. But the thing is with Sam Allardyce, he's used to managing those players who aren't top level.
He loves a good shit fest, doesn't he?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
To put it in the most northern, ignorant way possible.
The thing is, I don't like Sam Allardyce, though. He's always up for a laugh. He might take any shit. Yeah.
Lad.
The thing is, if they don't
One
qualify
at
for the
lads.
next World Cup.
Type of guy that orders himself a Vindaloo on a Friday just for a challenge instead of tea.
It's like that thing where Sam Allardyce, there's a guy who's not afraid to have a shit while eating a packet of crisps.
Yeah.
Oh, rescuers.
Such a good
Can we go
analogy.
into some more
Save
rumours,
this,
please? More rumours.
Save this segment.
More rumours.
Yeah,
Any more rumours?
Yeah, let's keep this together.
Oh. Any more rumours?
You're the host.
Oh yeah, I got one.
Thank you.
I got Mary Gomez. Mary Gomez.
Oh yeah.
Mary Gomez. Cha cha.
Yeah.
Yeah, going from Besiktas because he doesn't want to be there after the Turkish coup. He said, and I think that might be a good signing for some Premier League clubs and even Bundesliga clubs. Of course, I saw Dortmund being linked with him. I haven't seen any Premier League clubs like inquiring about him, but he's a good striker. He scores goals when he gets the opportunity. So.
Yeah, if he can keep out of injuries, or stay fit, basically, he's a really good striker. Like he is a world class striker.
I think that's one that has Liverpool written all over it. That sign.
Oh yeah,
it does a little bit, and I'd hate to. I wouldn't like to see him come to the Premier League. I'd like to see him back in the Bundesliga. But yeah, it's an interesting one given that he's probably. I wonder how many years he has left him at club level.
he's 33 now. I think 32.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I wonder how many years at club level he's probably got left.
One.
So yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if like you mentioned Dortmund rumoured to take him. If Dortmund had just sort of take him for a year, when they do have a pretty stacked squad now, like in that position anyway, got Dembele if he wants to play the striker, and obviously Orba and whatever.
And they still got Ramos and players like that.
Yeah, Ramos.
Ramos is irrelevant, but So I don't know. I'd like to see him come to Schalke, but I don't know whether they'd be too old. I don't know whether he'd be just the same player as Klaas and Huntelaar. But it like for a team like Hamburg, he could be a good one.
Yeah, keep
It's
him
all
on the
about
Hamburg.
money.
Just talking-
Who's got the money in it? I suppose.
Yeah,
I imagine he'll be on a low income.
yeah.
Minimum wage.
So-
Wage, yeah.
Just into-
Or the living wage for someone over 30. Who knows what that is? We don't know.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where he does go. I hope he doesn't go to the Premier League though, because I think he'll just sit on a bench in the Premier League.
Right.
Doesn't sign for Middlesbrough, of course.
I was going to say
Unless-
Middlesbrough, but I think the Negredo signing probably renders that redundant.
Negredo and Mario Gomez up front with
Oh, what a
Gaston
duo.
Ramirez supporting them.
Oh, that's a team that will work hard for you. Right, I think we should move into the next segment, the Premier League preview segment, as I've coined it. So we're going to be we go through 5 teams an episode. But the time the season starts, we would have gone through every single team in the Premier League. And today we're going from Everton. We're going to be covering Everton. Everton.
Everton.
Why did you say that so
I didn't mean to.
Irish?
Everton, Hull, Leicester, Liverpool, and Manchester City. So we're going alphabetically because chronological is the way forward. Everton made some signings. Martin Stecklenburg from Fulham, an interesting one to replace probably Tim Howard. Even though Joel was playing quite well towards the end of last season, I'm not particularly sure I rate Stecklenburg. Since he left Ajax, he's been kind of in there. They've signed Basala Sambu from Coventry and Chris Renshaw from Oldham, so the usual tactic of buying young. But they've been linked with a couple of players because they have had. Did they have a takeover? I believe they had a takeover. Like
Yeah, they
a rich
did.
person. A couple of people they've let go: Leon Osman, Tony Hibbert, Tim Howard, Stephen Pienaar. So kind of the
Clear out.
alumni from 5-6 years ago. So what do we think about Everton then? What do you think they're going to do next season? Are they going to sign any of these players they've been linked with, or is it just all a mist to cloud the eyes of the fans towards the new chairman, who perhaps is just blowing smoke up their arseholes to make himself look good?
Oh,
perhaps.
okay.
Well,
They
we
get-
always see teams get taken over and meant to have loads of money, and then they never actually spend anything.
Cardiff.
I don't know whether it'd be a good thing for Everton to even spend any money. I can't even see Everton doing particularly well, spending money and then immediately doing well.
We're
So
going to see.
I can see them getting Axel Witsel. That's probably as far
yeah,
as I
I'll
can
say
go.
that's the yeah.
And if
So
they
there-
keep
and
Lukaku-
Juan Mata's rumoured to go there as well, isn't
yeah.
he?
I doubt that. I imagine he'll go back to Spain. That seems a very strange move.
I can see. For some reason, I can picture him in an Everton kit though, which worries me.
Yeah.
Well, that's just your imagination. So let's take that
Oh
for
yeah,
what
but
it
my
is.
imagination is it's accurate.
Didn't you say Germany wouldn't have a very good Euros and then they'd win it, but then they actually finished in the semi-finals?
They got beaten by the eventual runner-up.
It's almost like they lost in the semi-final.
Shh, carry on with the
Okay,
podcast.
right. So Everton. So what do we think now about their squad? Where would we improve them? Because obviously they've got some good players in there. Well, good is perhaps is obviously
Overstatement.
questionable. They've got well-known players. I'm going to go with John
They
Stones,
need-
who's had
yeah.
an interesting season last season. Question marks, but he is still young. They've got pretty much a spine with Gareth Barry and Ross Barkley and Lukaku up front. Lennon had a decent second half of the season. They've got Delafeu in the wings. I think Kevin Morales is still on their books somehow. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, is
I
he?
think so.
Yeah.
God.
So yeah, what do you think? Where do their improvements need to come through?
Well, Lukaku is destined to score 10 goals at least in every Premier League season. He somehow does it. He's got... How many? Did he get 20 last season?
He had a spell there where he was scoring a lot of goals. I'm not sure he quite hit.
Yeah, because
20.
he was going for he was running alongside Vardy, wasn't he, for the record or something like that?
Because
He scores
Kane
goals.
won it on 23. I think Vardy and Aguero got 22. So I think Lukaku
He might have got like 17, 18, something like that. Can't remember. But he scores goals in the Premier League, whether you like him or not. He's going to score goals somehow. They need a central midfielder, and that's why I think they will go for Witsel and spend a lot of money on him. If he's going to be a success, I don't know. But they definitely need a central midfielder. They got James McCarthy, I think, up and coming. Was good last season. But...
He's been linked. I think he was linked to Newcastle though.
What?
Apparently he was linked to Newcastle.
That sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, the team strikes me as like average all the way through. Like there's, like you said, centre mid obviously stands out to me a little bit, but I don't know. Like the whole squad really needs a touch up. It's like a home that's it's a 90s decor and it's still suitable for this age, but it could do with a bit of Pete Andre's 60-minute makeover.
Right.
Andre 3000.
It's like having a dull green bath.
Yeah,
People have those.
like
still.
it still works.
It
and
doesn't
like,
work. No,
No, it does. It does work. It serves its.
I mean, it will
function,
keep you in the Premier
and
League, but it
people
won't
still
do
use
that.
it.
It won't do
Well,
that
it'll
for
keep the water in. It'll keep you in the Premier League. Whereas if you get a bath with new bath, it keeps the water in and it sprays bubbles.
Imagine bringing a girl home and then she says, "I'm just going to freshen up." She goes in and sees that.
And the green
And the
bath,
green
exactly.
bath,
And that's
the
what I
green
imagine.
toilet and
That's
the
what I
green
imagine
sink.
Everton fans are like. Every weekend they turn up to Goodison. Well, not every weekend, otherwise you won't get to see much. But every other weekend they turn up to Goodison Park and just watch a green bath. That's
Gareth Barry
such
in
a
it.
good analogy, Phil. I'm so
Thank
impressed.
you. Well, you're the one who
That-
took it to the
that's
next
probably-
level.
Yeah, well, you just give me ideas and I just sort
Rather
of shape them into genius. There's ideas.
That's the best ideas are stolen, my friend. Never forget
Exactly.
that. So,
Okay.
what do we say about them needing improvements?
Centre mid.
Everything.
Centre-
Yeah,
centre
That was what I was
midfielder.
saying.
So-
Everything. Centre
so what
mid.
do we?
probably need a winger to do something. Aaron Lennon's the only real one.
Morales.
And Delafeu were pretty.
They weren't getting in the team, were they?
Pretty like I can't even find another way of explaining them apart from like McGeady as well is in that group.
Oh,
has he not left? I don't think he's hit. Wait, he hasn't hit. Wow, unreal.
Like Ross Barkley needs to hit form for him and do well. Ross Barkley thinks
that's
quite
the
good.
thing with Everton
mid.
is they rely so much on Barkley and Lukaku that if those players aren't in form, then they
Yeah.
have really rough patches. And last season as well, their defence. They were scoring quite a lot of goals.
They
but
were they playing like that
awful.
Galloway kid for half the season or whatever his name was. Holloway, Galloway, I don't know. Like, for
They
half
do
the season.
show frailties when they bring through their youngsters so dramatically.
And when you have a centre back duo of which it's like potential England duo Phil Jagielka and John Stones, but it really just deflates into like I don't know. Instead of a bath, it's a paddling pool.
Stop talking
it's like
about
got
baths.
a hole in it. Well, I just can't. I'm trying to keep the analogy going,
The
but
green paddling pool.
it's just like the defense is shaky and average.
6-3 Chelsea 2 years ago, same defence. It's just I can't see like Seamus Coleman had a good season. Since then, he's been bang average.
I don't know if he had a good season last season, particularly.
Not last season.
Oh, the
he
season
had
before
a good
last.
season. Yeah, a good season.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
It was. It was around when what was the other one? The Costa Rican one.
Oh yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
When he broke his leg.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that was that season. So
Also, the Leighton Baines coming back, he hasn't particularly hit the heights that he was before his injury as well.
No, he's been really like
old
disappointing.
now, isn't he?
He's 29 or
Leighton Baines
30.
pretty old.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So if they do get that Witsel signing in midfield, that'll definitely help them. I think another position they probably need to look at is that centre back position because they have Stones and Jagielka there. I'm not really sure who they have in the way of backup.
Funes Mori,
Funes Mori, well,
Yeah.
I mean,
who scored a goal
he's okay
against Liverpool, I think.
He scored a goal.
No, he got sent
That's
off.
what he
didn't
has to show for his Everton.
Yeah.
Kiss the
So
badge.
I don't know.
But
Yeah, I think they paid a lot for Mori, didn't they?
Yeah,
12
it-
million?
Mori
yeah.
as well.
I don't particularly think he's a bad defender, really. I think it's more the fact that Jagielka's getting a bit old and perhaps Stones is on his way out. So I think they probably do need another centre-back. Where they find one of those. I mean, Mustafi's like so good, and I've really wanted Spurs to sign him for ages. But if Everton have got that money, they should go in for a player like that, or like a Howard as from Schalke or something like that. Because with the money in the Premier League, they can attract these big players, these like probably Champions League level players who aren't playing in the Champions League, and nick them from under the nose of bigger teams like Chelsea, like they tried to do with like Batshuayi and things like that. So. We're interested to see what Everton do in this window, and I think that's going to pretty much shape their season. Do you see Everton making 3 or 4 world-class signings?
No.
No. Because it's Everton.
Yeah.
Everton love averageness. They do. Like, they do well with average. Like, even with Moyes.
Yeah, this is why I think having all that money is kind of almost a big ruse, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, Everton don't do well with money, or they've never really had it. Like,
what do we think then? Moving on from the signing, what do we think about Koeman going there then? Do we think that's good for Everton?
It's definitely good. I think he's a decent manager.
yeah, I think he's a good manager. I think he's got the right philosophies more than anything, and how to take a squad forward.
Got the philosophy. It's whether he's got the players to implement those philosophies. Is his style?
Well, he's got the money to do it now, so
we spoke about that. We don't really think that's particularly, all that's cracked up to be. But I suppose we'll see. Should we move on from Everton next? I feel like we've gone on about them for ages.
Yep.
Do we think Everton mid-table, lower, second, like bottom half?
10th, 9th.
That high?
I'd say even lower than that. I'd say like 12th. Like, about averageness.
So
That's what Everton strike me as. But yeah.
Right, we'll move on to Hull City next. Looks like it's going to be a difficult season for them, doesn't it? I think they only had 13
Very.
senior players in a friendly or something.
Yeah, they haven't got a squad. That's the problem.
This is like
They haven't
Blackpool.
got manager
It's
either.
like Blackpool for the last few years. Like,
Yeah.
It looks
in the
like
Premier
Steve Bruce could be going, or has gone. I don't think he's got.
He's
Yeah,
gone,
he's gone.
hasn't he?
He's gone.
He's
Is that
gone. Yeah,
confirmed?
He's confirmed.
yeah. He said that he said like in his statement that he was frustrated with the owners. That
Well, I
he
know
felt
he's given
that
his
he
resignation previously, and it was declined. So they may just decline his resignation again.
I believe that he is.
Okay, well, if he
Yeah,
has
he's
gone,
Quit now.
that's a huge problem for Hull City. And who do they get? Who do
Yeah.
they get?
like we to talk about player rumours, but the first thing they need to get is a manager as good as Steve Bruce, because I think Steve Bruce is a brilliant manager.
Paolo Di Canio.
They may have to take a punt on someone like Di Canio, because when you look at who else is there with Premier League experience.
I saw Michael Dawson was out for like half the season now. Why doesn't he go in as like a player manager's thingy?
I mean, it could happen, I suppose. Avram Grant, what's he doing these days?
Somewhere in Israel,
Sven?
smoking.
Sure, he'll have a go, Sven Goran Eriksson.
Check every shisha bar around the Middle East. I'm sure you'll find Avram.
But yeah, it's going to be tough for Hull to get in a good quality
Is that
manager.
racism?
Let's
I think that might
let's
be
go
racist.
over it.
You
Let's
might
go
have-
over it like it isn't.
Yeah, we'll carry on. Yeah.
Because we're not sure. Hull City then. What do we think? I mean, we pretty much are going to all agree here that they need improvement in probably every position.
They need improvements, and they need improvements quick. Otherwise, they're going straight back down.
I think the only good thing they have particularly is that they have a decent central midfield. Tom Huddleston,
Mohamed Diame was the goal, I think.
Plays just behind
Oh
the striker.
my god. I know who's going to go to
Oh,
Hull.
go on.
Actually, no.
Oh. Have West Ham got any players that don't get in the first team anymore? Because
Has Martinez hasn't gone anywhere, has he?
Roberto Martinez. I mean,
Yeah.
he could be a whole manager, I suppose.
He's going to go.
He was rumoured to be Spain manager, wasn't he? But now that's gone.
Van
Imagine
Gaal.
Hull would look into the
Van Gaal.
Hull would look into the Championship for their manager. I wouldn't be surprised. Nick someone from there. But yeah, the Hull probably going to be very reliant on loan signings. I imagine to get some signings in quick. Like we said, I think they probably need a player in every position. Who do they sign? That's the question. I mean, a lot of players around them are making their moves. The only one that hasn't signed anyone is Sunderland at this point. Sorry, go on.
I can see them taking a few Chelsea youngsters if they allow them to leave. Because there's a few that need Premier League experience. Maybe a Christian Atsu from Chelsea. On a permanent deal, that is.
Quadrado?
I don't know if players would go down to that level if they think that Hull are going to be in the Championship next season. I don't think like a player like Atsu would actually go to Hull. I think it's
Because he doesn't want to give himself a reputation for going down. Like I imagine
they need players who are ambitious to survive. They need
but the problem
players
is
who
ambitious
are
players won't want to go to Hull City in their current position.
And ambitious players that probably get on a bad run will just not play well, I imagine.
Yeah.
Like, as ambitious as you can be. If they're ambitious and say, oh, we want to finish at least mid-table, and then they get on a run of 5 games and end up bottom of the table, like, in October.
I wouldn't be surprised if Hull City just sign a load of players that we've never heard of and then just go down.
Yeah.
They probably have one standout player in the season that will get bought in January. And that will probably be their season in a nutshell. It's sad to say because I quite like Steve Bruce, but it's unfortunate.
Yes, I really like
left.
Steve Bruce as a manager.
Um,
But it's a statement by him to show that like some people say it's pretty much him abandoning ship, but also it's like a statement by him just saying how bad the ownership is, that it's pretty much making his job impossible. So like that gets the fans then behind the team and behind Steve Bruce and against the owners, which can hopefully work out in some sort of resolution for him, because it's not good to see owners changing and ruining like a club as much as they just got promoted. I see Steve Bruce resign is probably not good for Hull fans, I imagine.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next team we're going to talk about, and that is Leicester City, the Premier League champions, who have had a lot of business they have done already. We've talked about some of them already, so we'll try and talk more about the players they have signed. They signed that goalkeeper Zila from Stuttgart, was it, Michael?
Hanover.
Mendy as well, and a couple over here, but my computer's broken, so I can't actually look. And they've let go a lot of players, obviously, like Kante and Kramaric, is it?
Kramaric.
Yeah, so they've been busy. Leicester City, then, what do we think is going to happen there with them next season? How do we think they are going to go about following up their amazing title-winning success of last season?
I think it all depends on if Mahrez stays. I think they got a good manager now in Ranieri, who are making them believe that you can win football matches without having the best players. if you just have the right mentality. But with Mendy signing for Leicester, I don't think he'll fill that gap that Kante's left in the midfield. But I don't know. They need somebody strong in midfield like Kante, but obviously you can't really get that similar player for any price, really.
Let me ask you both a question. Where everyone's spoken about the big Leicester ins and outs, but we have as well with the Musa and Kante being the main ones of the ins and outs. I'm going to ask you a question now about their Champions League campaign, because I think that's the more exciting thing. The league is going to be it's going to be difficult for them to have a season like they did last season, obviously. But where do you think they're actually going to finish in the Champions League? Where do you think they will be eliminated? Obviously, there's no draw being made at this point, so it's all up in the air.
I'll say it very much depends on the draw. The thing is, I always seem to think that teams that maybe shouldn't do well in the Champions League or in Europe do well because it's like they play better than they will in the league. Like the players have more belief, and Leicester lose and think, "Oh, Leicester lose." I didn't even intend that. Leicester lose. Leicester.
Stop saying it. It's not that good.
I can't. I know. I've said it, and now it's in my head. Leicester to lose. Like, I don't know, but I think they could do okay. I don't know whether they'll make. They might drop into the Europa from the group stage.
I'm not particularly sure what seed they are. If they're third seed or
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
If they won the Premier League, I think they're first seed.
I think you go in as first seed, but is it not based on history?
Then they may have changed it, so I'm not 100% sure. Who knows what's going on?
I don't know how it works. I think it's based on history because when I've played on Football Manager, it seems like it's done like that, but I don't know.
We'll see. I'd like to see them. I'd like to think they'd get through the group. But if they don't get through the group and they get a group with like PSG and Real Madrid, I think they'd be happy with that. A couple of big games to test their mettle against, and if they go into the Europa League and have a run there, I'm sure they'd be happy with that. It's whether you see last season as a complete anomaly or that's actually how good Leicester are. I personally think it's a bit of an anomaly and a bit of a fairy tale. Perhaps they probably won't. But they won the league last season. They have pretty much the entire squad minus a holding midfielder. The facts would say that they still have what it takes to finish the Champions League spot next season. But that's going to be very, very tough.
I think what Ellie said, hold on to Morris, is pretty essential. And I think they've either got to do well in the Champions League or the league. They can't do well in both. The squad's not experienced enough with playing that high capacity, like high amount of games, nor at their level. So I don't know. One or the other, really.
Where do you think Leicester, if any, position need to improve then? If they can compete in the Champions League at a reasonable standard?
Well, see, I always want to say centre backs because they have a partnership of Robert Huth and Wes Morgan.
A very good partnership.
That's what it's like. Roger Johnson, Scott Dan. It works. You don't want to break it up. Sorry, I can't help it. I can't help it. And then they've obviously got Christian Fuchs and Danny Simpson seem to work in that team really well.
It's just Ranieri just needs to find players that fit into his philosophy. Yeah. Like, they don't need to be good players. Just if they do the work, they will do well in that team, and that's really reassuring as a manager to feel like you got the philosophy done. You got it. You've got an idea, and it worked since he won the Premier League last season. And if he finds somebody who can do Kante's job, if Mendy's that player, I don't know, but if he can find somebody who can do Kante's job, I think they will be up there. Maybe not winning it, but probably from places 3 to 6th.
I think another thing is Leicester actually did a lot of good business last season in January.
Yeah.
So, they signed. I keep want to say Dylan Armati, but I think he's a rugby player. I think it's Daniel Armati. I've got him on career mode on FIFA anyway.
Swedish, yeah.
Yeah, it came from wherever, AIK or whatever. No, probably not AIK, but yeah.
Every Swedish team is
got Dimmy Gray.
Came from Brunby, I think, or Copenhagen.
Yeah, something like that. They obviously got Dimmy Gray from Birmingham as well. Sorry to mention it again, but still a good signing.
Just don't give them nicknames.
Dimmy. Okay.
Professional,
It's
we're a professional
dim.
journalist and broadcaster at this point.
Sorry, Damari Gray.
Mariah.
And, yeah, so they did good business into like strengthening with younger players last season. So really, I think it's going to be a case of replacing whatever goes.
Do we think Mahrez will go or Vardy? I think they're both going to stay at this point now.
Yeah.
I think
I think they would have already
stay.
gone. Or there'll be bigger rumours saying
Yeah.
they'd go. I think it's probably from
Yeah.
papers and stuff. It's just an obvious player to go to say he's going to leave. But I don't think he'll go at this point. I think it's too late in the window, too late in the day. Unless they have a really bad start to the season, then maybe he'll go. But I don't know. We'll see. So
Yeah, at least till January. Yeah.
we'll move on to Liverpool next. Made some big signings. They signed Sadio Mane for 36 million. They've signed Wijnaldum now for 25 million. They've signed John Matip on a free, which we agreed last episode was a great bit of business. We've spoken pretty much about all their ins. Loris Karius, I believe, has had quite a good pre-season goal at this moment in time.
I don't know.
Really? I was hearing he had a couple of good games.
Well, I don't know, but I saw him make a pretty big mistake. Well, he managed to recover it against some like Fleetwood or wherever they played.
Oh, Neuer.
Well, perhaps
I feel like we've had this.
Perhaps the tutelage of Alex Meninga will benefit him as he has joined Liverpool. The 39-year-old goalkeeper.
Yes.
It's like Schalke signed someone similar a few years back.
Oh my goodness!
That's the only knowledge I have. No, as in a goalkeeper.
Oh.
The best goalkeeper that Juventus have had.
Hildebrand, is it? Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember.
He's the best goalkeeper that Juventus have had for the last 20 years, except Buffon.
Yeah, but Buffon's been their goalkeeper for the last 20 years.
That's why I said it. Okay. And Manning actually had a season when Buffon was out, I think, and he played 20-odd games in the league.
Is he Austrian? He's Austrian.
Yeah, he's Austrian.
Yeah. Should have gone. He should have gone to the Euros. Imagine that. You have Meninga against Karai in that Group F. Oh, beautiful. That would have been brilliant. That's what football's made for. Just old people. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I imagine there's some sort of back room position going either later this season or next season. I can't see why else he'd be brought in unless.
Apparently, it was a protest signing by Klopp. I've heard that he said that because the Premier League has changed rules with the loaning young goalkeepers, he's loaning out Ward and I can't remember the other guy who's loaning out, and he can't recall them. If it's not in the transfer window.
Oh, right.
So he needed to sign somebody.
Oh, so he had a third goalkeeper?
Yes.
Oh,
that's why.
Okay, interesting.
So apparently it was like he protest signing, apparently.
That doesn't surprise me, Jurgen Klopp. I can see that being true.
Oh, he's a bit zany. Oh, wow, my whole browser's just blown up. They've let go a couple of players then. I think they let Brad Smith go, who is a fullback, I think who was reasonably rated, I believe. They've let a couple of youngsters go, Rossiter, I think, and Yao Teixeira, I think. Not the one from Shakhtar, because he never joined. Jerome Sinclair went to Watford as well. Kolo Toure went to Celtic, which is nice.
What a signing.
Is he actually gone now? Is it confirmed?
So he'll be wearing the number 2 shirt.
I think it's a pretty good signing for Celtic, that.
And Martin Skirtle as well left for Fenerbahce, and we talk about Jordan Ibe as well, which I think is actually quite a good bit of business there for Liverpool. I think the question marks about the Ibe signing for Bournemouth from myself obviously has to merit Liverpool's standing on business, and the Brad Smith guy's gone for I think 8 million to Bournemouth as well, so getting a good bit of money from Bournemouth there, pretty much paying for the Wijnaldum fee. I mean, we'll just go straight into it then. Where do Liverpool need to improve?
I want to say they need a striker who's not injured for half the season.
I was going to say they need a goal.
Yeah.
They've signed 3 now.
But I don't know, a left back, I think, because they've got Moreno.
God, it's Moreno.
The kid from Charlton, Gomez.
Andre Gomez. Oh, sorry, Joe Gomez.
Yeah, I think he was out though,
right.
injured or something.
I thought he was a centre back when he first.
Yeah, I think he's like a versatile defender.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they really need a centre back, Liverpool. Really badly. I mean, Lovren.
Can't believe. Yeah.
What's their centre back partnership now? It's Lovren and
Matip.
Yeah, Matip.
Isn't it? think they're probably.
But behind that,
Oh, they've just signed the Augsburg defender.
Klavan, yeah, they've actually signed
Yeah.
centre backs, haven't they?
Oh,
Yeah, but I think he's quite old.
I'm not-
He's
It's like
30.
I'm not sure on.
Yeah.
Is he good then? Or I'm not actually.
Ragnar Klavan, Augsburg had a good season last season, didn't they?
like Augsburg have had interesting seasons for a couple of seasons now, so I don't know. I don't really know much about him in all fairness. So
But if the German,
there could be a German Bundesliga partnership.
the Germany expert doesn't know much, then how are we supposed to?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
So Liverpool, where do we think they're going to actually finish next season? Because
10th.
I think that's a bit hard.
Oh,
Just as Liverpool teams always have the season, like, I think Everton are going to be just below Liverpool. And I don't know. If Sturridge is fit the whole season, then maybe 8th, 6th, something like that. But generally just 10th.
The problem with Liverpool is there's so many teams now who are just better. Yeah. And they
Yeah.
have been for a few seasons now. And then you add Leicester to that. Southampton are making moves.
even
as well.
I was going to say Southampton are a better club than Liverpool
have
currently.
they have a big step to make to get back into where they were, get back into Champions League contention on a regular basis. And you just look at the signings of Mane and Wijnaldum, you don't see those as those players that they need to make that step. And I'd be really frustrated if I was a Liverpool fan and those were the two big signings they've made. The fee
It's difficult
does not
Reflect the player.
reflect the player in those situations.
both
They
in
haven't
reputation
signed.
and ability.
Wijnaldum is not a £25 million player. Sadio Mane is not a £36 million player. This is arguably going to be the problem with all Premier League teams. I'm not saying Liverpool are the only one who have overspent this summer, and they probably won't be the last either, because the money in the Premier League now. But those signings really frustrate me because Liverpool have a big reputation. They have a big manager now in Klopp, and I'd be frustrated if I was a Liverpool fan and they weren't bringing in better players. I really would.
I think it's a vicious circle because Liverpool lost their world-class players through either retirement or just left. And they can't attract any more world-class players because they haven't got any world-class players to go alongside them, and they can't finish in a world-class player's desired position. So they're having to make expensive signings that are a step below world-class. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to Mane and Wijnaldum, but they're obviously not world class players.
I mean, they must. I'd see the Wijnaldum sign. I was thinking, you know who you should sign? You should go to Barcelona. You should sign Arda Turan, because there's reports that he's going to leave this summer, and he's a Champions League player. He would have been a player that's perfect for them at this moment in time in that position.
It could still happen.
I mean, it could still happen, but you'd imagine it's a bit overkill if they did that. I suppose Alan on the way out, perhaps they could still do that. But there
Allen
are
to
players like
Barcelona.
that, and then you see.
I saw that rumour.
What's that? Sorry.
Joe Allen to Barcelona. I've seen that rumour, and that is absolutely amazing.
Well, apparently he's on his way to Stoke now, and it's all but confirmed. But it's just, and then you look at you look at West Ham linked with like James Rodriguez, and I'm sitting there like frustrated as a Spurs fan. I can only imagine how Liverpool fans are thinking. I mean, it's interesting, but we say about that how their history and how their manager should be attracting better players. Another team I'd argue that should be happening too, and the next team we're going to talk about, Manchester City. So Man City, we spoke a bit about the Gundogan signing, the Nolito signing a little bit. They've signed Zinchenko from FK Ufa, who I know nothing about, and they've signed Aaron Moy from Melbourne City, who is a youngster who looks like will probably go out on loan again, apparently. They've let go some players, Fofana, Lucien, Nay, from Tuiva. Divock Ellis has left. Richard Wright has left. These are players. Luke Byrne, Luke Bratton. No, Jack Byrne, Luke Bratton, Anthony Caceres, and Aaron Moy, wwho they signed, went to Huddersfield on loan. So yeah, but yeah, like the Liverpool thing, I'd be very frustrated if I was a Manchester City fan because they have so much money and it's well documented that they're title challengers now. I mean, the difference is you could say that Manchester City already have those world-class players in their squad, like the likes of Aguero and company. And I mean, I'm going to argue Hart. I mean, you might disagree, but you've got to be frustrated. Pep Guardiola coming in, and I know we're early stages of the window. We're only in July, for goodness sake. There's plenty of time. What do you think, Man City, then? Do you think Do you think they're gonna sign bigger players? And if so, who do you think they are going to bring in? Who should they bring in?
It's hard to say because they've got good strikers now.
Yeah.
They got Aguero, they got Iheanacho as the backup striker, and I think he's a really good player. Midfield wise, they got David Silva, they got
Even
De
go for
Bruyne.
Boney.
Oh, they got Boney, yeah, as well. Now Gundogan
Yeah.
and Yaya Toure, who's probably going to leave since he's not a big fan of Guardiola or the other way around. I don't know. Defensively, like Zabaleta is maybe too old. He's not in his prime anymore.
I don't think he's particularly old. I think he just looks old.
I think he's like 30, 31 now.
The defense is where the question
Yeah.
marks lie for me for City, but it's difficult to say because they've signed world-class centre-backs in Otamendi and Mangala, or should be world-class centre-backs in Otamendi and Mangala, so signing more centre-backs would not fix that problem. And then their full-backs, they've got Sanya, who was really good at the Euros,
Sanya,
and then like Clichy, and then they also have like Zabaleta, and it seems like those players should be pretty reliable. Like Zabaleta should be reliable, and Sanya should be reliable. Clichy, Kolarov has obviously been amazing for City, and it feels like they're reluctant to replace those players because of how reliable they've been in the past.
That, yeah.
And it's difficult to sign. It's difficult to sign fullbacks, I think, as a big team because I think they're not few and far between. But it's like without spending a hell of a lot of money, it's difficult to get a good fullback, and I think like. That's why they're sticking with the ones
I think the
they've got.
problem with Zabaleta nowadays is that he's still traumatized after being sat on his arse by Hazard a few times, a few seasons ago.
Oh my god.
But
How long ago
Have a
was
go
that?
at him, Phil.
How long
He's
ago
mentioned
was
his
that?
team.
that's when he won the league 2 years
That
ago.
was a while ago then. Continue.
When did Spurs win the league?
1961, 1962. First team to win the cup and league double, mate. Claim to fame.
So that's all we've really got to say about City, I'm guessing. It's going to turn into insulting each
There's
other.
your history.
Okay.
Yeah, so Man
Oh,
City.
dear.
Do we think they're going to win the league?
No.
In a,
Don't think they're
in
gonna
one word,
get
in one
relegated
word,
either.
Michael. Are they going to win it? Because we need to wrap this up soon. Going to win the league? I'm
No.
going to also say no. 3 no's makes a no. Or a no. If you've rearranged the letters.
What?
So yeah. So I think that's.
I think
we're done with
Arsenal-
that.
I think Arsenal are
next
gonna win the
episode we're
league.
talking about Man United, Middlesbrough, Southampton, Stoke City, and Sunderland. We
I
need
like
to talk
next
about
episode.
Man United's the Martial controversy.
Controversy.
Controversial.
Why have you turned
AM
American
We'll
right?
talk about that next episode because Martial may have left by that point. We don't know. But yeah. So thank you very much for listening. I've been your host Phil. These have been the other two. Say your names and where you come from.
Michael the Power Taylor
Michael
from.
the Power Taylor.
Well, you said it at the start, so from Doncaster, England.
And I've been Elias from Sweden.
Yay! Wow, we haven't plugged the podcast. The podcast, the Twitter. So can you one of you do that because I can't remember the Twitter.
Oh yeah. So if you have any questions or any rumours to fuck that up before it starts, if you have any questions or any rumours to mention to us, please do go to our Twitter and mention us. It's at In The Mixer Show. Drop us a follow while you're there to find out anything about the podcast and what we talk about the football stuff. Another way to get in contact with us is via our
Thank you.
email, which is
So,
inthemixerpodcast
with that,
at
I'm gonna say
gmail.com.
Goodbye. They're gonna say
Again,
goodbye.
bye.
Oh, what? Are we?
Yeah, say goodbye. We're running out of time.
Goodbye.
Every time.
Let's just end. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, it's just that's a good thing to end on.